Hey Salam, it's Usman, and in this tutorial we're talking about lighting and some lighting techniques. Now, I have talked about lighting a bit before in previous videos, but in this one we're going to dive a little bit deeper. Now, you might have seen some pretty dramatic before and after shots that I've shared of simply changing the lighting only and not even changing the camera setup to show the importance of how much light can change your scene, change the mood of your scene, the quality and professionalism of your shot, and actually get the most out of the equipment you have. You don't have to have all this expensive gear, and believe it or not, it's not the camera that makes your video look this great. It can help. It's actually majority of the time the lighting. So in this clip I'm going to show you some more in-depth lighting theories and techniques. For example, the 3-point lighting technique. Also showing you what to do in situations where, for example, you're outside in direct sunlight and the sun is blasting in your face, and also show you the exact setup that I use here in this room, which does cost a bit, so if you have the budget, that will be for you. And also bear in mind that you don't have to spend a lot of money to get good lighting scenarios. You know, the sun outside is free, it's the best light source that we have. And even indoors, we have windows that bring in natural light, we have clouds that cover that light for us to make it softer and more flattering. And even something as simple as sitting in front of a window at the right angle can take your videos to a whole new level compared to sitting in your room in a very boring environment with just a warm, orangey, horrible looking light above you on the ceiling. Alright, so let's jump over to the bird's eye cam and look at some 3-point lighting techniques. So what is 3-point lighting? Well, if your subject is over here and your camera is over here pointing at your subject, 3-point lighting is simply having 3 lights coming into your subject at different angles, each serving their own purpose. Okay, so light number 1 is called a key light. Okay, the key light is the most important light that hits your subject's face. This is going to be the brightest light out of all 3, and usually you want to have this coming off at a 45-degree angle, either on the right or on the left, it doesn't really matter. Then over here you're going to have a second light source, and this is going to be called a fill light. The purpose of the fill light is that the key light, because it's only lighting up basically one side of your subject, this side is going to have some shadows, and the purpose of the fill light is to ensure that the shadows are being filled. The third light over here at the back is going to be called your hair light, or some type of kicker light. So the first one is your key light, which hits your subject as the main light source. The second light, if you want one, is a fill light, which fills in those shadows and doesn't make it as contrasty or dramatic. And the hair light, or the backlight coming from the other side, basically the purpose of that light is to accentuate the hair and the border of the person's body in order to create separation from the background. And that is 3-point lighting. Now in this room I don't quite use 3-point lighting, I actually just use 2-point lighting. So right above me here, almost just barely out of frame, and my hand can touch it here at a 45-degree angle, that is my key light. And what I use for this is a Godox SL60 W LED light, and also I use that with a newer soft box. Now what a soft box does what a soft box does, sorry, is that it actually helps to diffuse the light, because if you were to shine the light on your face directly, that makes it super harsh and very unflattering and might even blind you and you might not be able to see. Now, if you haven't got a softbox, something as simple as, you know, a shower curtain works really well. Even if you have a white t-shirt, for example, anything that you can put in front of the light to cut out the intensity of that light and to be able to increase the size of that light will make it softer and more flattering and decrease the harsh shadows that you get on your face. So I have that coming from this angle to create this main key light that you see on one side of my face. Now, I purposefully have not added a second fill light as we spoke about on this side, because I'm going for a bit more of a dramatic, moody look, and so having one side of my face in the light here and one side of my face in a shadow, and I can't see it on this camera, but you might see like a small kind of triangular shape under my eye here, and that creates a nice kind of, you know, highlight roll off, they call it, which looks very cinematic, if you can say that, and a bit more pleasing. Now over there I have our backlight, right, and for this I use a newer 660 LED panel. I actually got these on a Black Friday deal, a pack of 3. A good thing about these lights are that these are bi-color temperature lights. That means that I can switch the lighting temperature from either a warmer, kind of more orangey color, or a brighter daylight color. Now what I've done in this scene, and this is just my own personal choice, is that I've chosen this Godox key light has got a daylight color around about 55 or 5600 Kelvin, whereas for my backlight I've purposefully made it into a warm temperature to create a bit of contrast, color contrast between daylight and the warm light, but that's just a stylistic choice. Now, a type of lighting that I didn't mention before is something called practical lighting, right? And if you can notice behind me, I've actually got some lights that I can control here if I put them on and off. These LED lights that are going around my table and behind my monitor there as well. A practical light is a light that's in your scene. Now, something like fairy lights that I sometimes use in my videos, or candle lights, or a subtle lamp in the background all make for great practical lights. And also add to the overall mood and ambience of your shot. Now, if you are sitting close to the camera like this, and there's some sort of practical light in the background, if you do it correctly and put it in the right place, you can really accent the background. And if your background is very blurry, it might even create some nice bokeh effects for you as well. Okay, so let me show you individually what each of these lights do. So here is the final look with all of the lights on. Now, if I switch off the key light over here and I switch off the RGB light strips over there, now all you can see is the kicker light at the back, right? The hair light that is outlining the side of me. And the whole purpose of that light is to create separation between me and the background. Here's what it looks like with just the computer light on the background. And here is what it looks like if I put those RGB lights back on. And here is what it looks like now if I put this key light back on. But now we're also missing the kicker light at the back. So let's go put that back on again. Okay, that now looks much better. Okay, it's time to now go and speak to Outdoor Usman, who's going to show you a bit more about what happens if you're filming in direct sunlight. I'll see you back here in a minute. Okay, so we're out in the park now and I'm with my trusty assistant Imran, my little brother. Hi Imran. And basically we're going to show examples of do's and don'ts when filming in direct sunlight. I'm not sure if you can tell right now, but the sun is blasting in our face. And so we're going to show some examples of where to position the camera when you're filming to get the best light. And also using tools like this, a reflector, 5-in-1 reflector, to help you control the light a bit better. So as we can see, the sun is currently over there in the sky. So if you walk in the frame, Imran, and just stand there, as you can see, give us a little wave. He's a bit of a silhouette and it doesn't look very good. And if I try to get closer as well, you can't really see his face. But if we now turn around away from the sun, you can see that things are looking much better. Give us a wave. Okay, you can actually see though, what's happening is it's creating a very harsh shadow, and you can even see my hands coming up in his face, right? Now, if we were to actually turn a bit more to the side, come closer. Okay, now what we've done is we're actually creating a bit of like depth to his face, because this part of his face is lit, whereas that part of his face has got a bit of a shadow on it. All right. Now, although we're filming and the sun is now acting as a key light about 45 degrees, it is creating a nice bit of depth and dimension to Imran's face. One part is lit up and the other part is kind of shadowy. It's still quite harsh, and Imran is probably having a hard time looking at the camera because you can't open your eyes, right? So this thing here is called a 5-in-1 reflector. This side here reflects light. So actually, Imran, if you stand here and look at the camera, because the sun's facing that way, if you look at the camera, if I was to shine the reflector, you can see that the reflector is helping to bounce the light and fill in those shadows in Imran's face quite dramatically here. And then if you were to go ahead and open up, inside you have something called a diffuser, and the diffuser is what we want because the diffuser is going to help to soften the light that's coming in from that side. So Imran, if you can stand here for me again, pay attention to what happens when I actually lift up the diffuser and bring the diffuser down. Okay, so lifting up the diffuser and the diffuser down. Thank you, Outdoor Usman, for that example. Now, of course, not everyone has got a reflector just in their pocket to use whenever they go out to film or take videos or shoot photos. So a very easy and free way to get rid of that direct sunlight is to just move behind a building and to use the shade. So here's an example back with Outdoor Usman. So one more example is, again, the sun is behind Imran. He looks like a silhouette, but Imran, if you turn around, the sun is still blasting on his face from over there. So this example is simply going to be using a shade over here to soften the light. So Imran, if you come forward first, we can see that he's barely able to open his eyes. The sun's really harsh. The shadows are really harsh as well. Now if you move back, Imran, keep going further back into the shade, and something as simple as using a shade like this now creates much more natural, soft lighting on his face. Okay. Now, if you aren't filming outside and you haven't got these fancy lights at your disposal, again, you can use free resources like your window, for example. So if you can manage to have a window, again, never have the light source behind you like that unless you have other lights that you can have in front of you to fill in that shadow, because you'll become like a silhouette and that's not a good look to have. You want to have the light in front of you. So simply turn around and using something like your window and opening up the blinds, for example, can introduce enough light to make you stand out. And if you want to, you can turn around at a 45-degree angle so the window is over there, again, to create that nice shadowy highlight roll-off look. So I hope that helped out, and I hope that you now will experiment with lighting on your own. Again, in conclusion, just very basically speaking, if you have no other lights at your disposal and all you have is your window or the sun, try not to have the sun or the window behind you to save yourself becoming a silhouette. Have the light source in front of you in some way to act as a key light, and then experiment with your background to make it look more interesting. If this was helpful, let me know. And of course, again, if you have any more questions, drop them below. I'll do my best to help you out. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, I will have the links to these products down below somewhere if you want to check them out. Until next time, this has been super fun. Salam.